You know, the more you try not to talk about it, the more it ends up invading your life. So I'm going to read this to you quickly. Got this in the mail. And here we go. Starting with the May issue, Muscle and Fitness will no longer be available in a magazine format. Instead, you'll go online to a bigger and better muscleandfitness.com to get the latest workouts, nutritional advice, and training programs from today's top fitness experts, athletes, and bodybuilding champions. And it's all free. But there's even more to what you'll get. For the balance of your Muscle and Fitness subscription, you will now be receiving Men's Journal magazine in its place. Blah, 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 blah. So I got this, just a few days ago. And obviously this has to do with COVID-19. As I've been saying over and over again on this show, there are multiple forces. There's not one new world order or something trying to do something about this. There are multiple forces involved in taking advantage of COVID-19. This doesn't surprise me. Welcome to your Wednesday Zomia ONE Underground Q&A. We are going to get into, we got some great questions that I want to get into, some that I've been holding for a little while that I want to touch on, and we'll get into those. But really, this is not a surprise. And again, this is one of those things where you've got to understand it is just clear evidence that there are companies and even industries that are just taking advantage of this to, do things that really I think they've been thinking about for a good long while. Now, I am a huge supporter of magazines. In fact, as the reason I got this in the mail is because I actually get physical copies of Muscle and Fitness magazine. Sometimes over the years, I've downloaded digital copies of it, or I would get it. I'd even, I'd have I'd have the physical, but then I'd download the digital, say, onto my phone or MP3 player and, or glorified MP3 player. And that way I'd have it for when I actually go to the gym. Now, of course, I haven't gone to the gym now for, Ellen, what's it been? 3 weeks? Has it been 3 weeks since we've gone to the gym? 3, 4? Almost a month. Yeah. Yeah. So almost a month since I've been to the gym. Thank you, love. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know about gyms. I would think that gyms are doing fine money. I don't think that there's a problem there, but I said this years ago because, I've been into fitness for a very long time. And I said this years ago, like, I mean, even when I can remember, when I got out of the military. Like I started, I was reading Muscle and Fitness again and everything. And I used to go so far as I'd be into, the Mr. Olympia competition and all this. I mean, I was really, really into it. Not that I ever planned on being a Mr. Olympia by no means. I know the realities around that, but certainly it's a competition. It's a thing that you get very interested in, or that you can get very interested in. And it's one of those, I've never been a sports guy really. But I always had, more appreciation for sports that were individualistic in nature, meaning that, it wasn't a team sport like football, baseball, etc. Even though I was a baseball fan, I suffered from Mets fanitis for, when I was younger for a while, but something where it's one person and, they're just out there doing their stuff, even though if you know anything about like more hardcore bodybuilding, usually they have whole teams that are helping them work out, helping them train, etc. It's really not an individualistic thing either, even though one person usually, snags all the glory for what it's worth. And anyway, even then, so we're talking almost 20 years ago now, or 15 years ago, let's say. I was like, okay, like, how many different moves can you really tell people to do? Like what makes Muscle and Fitness an interest, or what's supposed to be its bread and butter, and unless it was on a low carb kick, but what makes it interesting and what makes you want to pick it up were the workouts. But really, there are only so many variations you can do. I mean, there's a lot of them, but there are only so many. And when you have a monthly magazine, and to say nothing of the fact, that this magazine had been going for decades, even at that time, it had already been in print for such a long time. even then I was saying it's a matter of time. And that was before I thought magazines were going to fall away. And I don't want them to. I love magazines. I don't want magazines to go away. I love the slow digestion and compilation. So compilation first, I guess, then digestion, but the slow compilation of information, which magazines allow for, and then the slow digestion of information, the more complete digestion of information, not as complete as a full-on book, but pretty good, that magazines allow for. That is something that we as humans are going to miss out on. Okay, as magazines die off. Now, magazines don't have to die off. They can just, go forward in PDF form. And certainly those have their adherence, and the production cost is so much lower than doing a print edition. I mean, I get it. Again, I'm not surprised that this happened. Okay. And I know that in other parts of the world, actually, even in Britain, magazines are wildly popular. In fact, they're almost experiencing a resurgence for some reason that I can't exactly explain. I love magazines. I'm not saying I want magazines to go away, but I get the writing on the wall. And certainly with certain niche subjects, it's not a surprise. Okay. I mean, a few years ago, so, Muscle and Fitness is kind of is very much considered, or Muscle and Fitness and Flex. Those used to be two separate magazines. Then Flex got baked into a few years ago, but got baked into Muscle and Fitness because Flex wasn't selling well enough. I mean, that was part of the writing on the wall too. And that was literally just that was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I think that Flex did that. It has had its own website for a while, but those all fell under Joe Weider properties. And Joe Weider, of course, is very much for a comparison, he was the Vince McMahon of bodybuilding. Okay. I mean, he was just that big of a deal. And his little publishing empire, I mean, Muscle and Fitness and Flex, they were basically the Bible, of bodybuilding. I mean, they were literally, I mean, all kinds of people would call it the Bible. Jay Cutler would call it the Bible. The Rock would call it the Bible. Ronnie Coleman, greatest of all time, would call it the Bible, and so on. I mean, it's just, that's the book. And I think part of the reason, it was part of the reason that I would still get a subscription to it, and understand a subscription to it for a year would cost $20. I mean, nothing, a subscription to it though, I think a lot of people had that, myself included, because we were just like, well, it's the Bible, for fitness. We got to keep it going, even if we don't read it all. It's just one of those, it's almost an institution. And so for it to finally go away, and as best as I can tell here, completely, and just become a website, again, writing on the wall, and they're just changing with the times, but it's really an end of an era, and admittedly, even in the past few issues, now they're offering me issues of Men's Journal. I mean, I guess, while we're low on toilet paper, around the house, they'd be good for that, perhaps. I mean, I just don't care. But Muscle and Fitness had been, other than the Flex segment at the end of the magazine, it had been really concentrating a lot more on like lifestyle, just materialism, just products, not so much on exercises, and not even products necessarily for fitness. Like they'd be doing interviews with MMA people. They'd be doing interviews with movie stars and all this. And with the MMA people, I guess I could kind of see where that's a fit, but the movie stars, no, because the movie stars, they only get fit for a very specific period of time. Yes, I know bodybuilders can be that way too. I understand. And that, I think that's a problem. Okay. Don't misunderstand me. Because constantly putting your body through those dramatic changes of being, that cut and then, eating normally, then you're cut again, then normally, I just don't think that's healthy. I'd rather people be at 70 to 80% efficiency year round than ever be at 100% efficiency and then spend the rest of the year at 50, 60. That's crazy. But anyway, Muscle and Fitness was spending so much time on just cultural bullshit, in my opinion. And it was not representative of really the subculture that I think, and look, as popular as gyms were, or as commonplace, I shouldn't say popular. I don't think they're popular, but as commonplace as gyms have become, it's still a subculture because it still takes a certain someone to be a gym rat, right? To want to go to the gym every day. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong if you don't want to go to the gym every day. Not everybody has the same, has the same desire or goals that I do, and so on. But anyway, I mean, so the magazine was going downhill anyway. There were plenty of online resources that were far more agile. And I mean, just provided, frankly, better information, better presented, all because it didn't, I mean, I'm being frank about this because, it didn't rely upon the magazine so much. And I mean, you had so many different online influencers, and whatever, these fitness gurus online that I wonder about sometimes. But, you had where they were able to very quickly pivot all of their content due to COVID-19 to, to home workouts. Of course that made sense. Like I get that. I mean, it's because it's not, like I said, I mean, like Ellen and I, we haven't been to the gym in it feels like almost a month. Fortunately we've gotten some, home equipment in, and we were able to get in on that before. Well, shit. I mean, I can't believe what some weight benches are costing right now. They shouldn't even cost $60 and they cost $600, because everybody's buying on it. I mean, it's tough to even find 45-pound plates online right now. So, working out from home is, I mean, it's not even a choice, right now. It's a necessity, whether I like it or not. I mean, of course, you want to ask me the question, well, Stallion, would you still end up going to the gym during COVID-19 if it was open? Yeah, actually, I would. I might be a little more cautious than usual, but I was already pretty cautious. But yeah, no, I fucking would have. You want to call that dumb? I mean, well, email me about it and you explain to me about that. And because I guarantee you I have responses to what you're going to say. But regardless of that, I mean, working out from home, I mean, it's just a necessity. So of course it makes sense that people involved in fitness are doing that. Muscle and Fitness has all of their content planned out months in advance, usually. Okay. So there's no way they could have been agile enough to adapt to COVID-19. And now, so one, they're clearly not making enough money off of their printed magazine. So they get to stop that. And two, now they just stopped, the magazine format entirely, and they can be more agile online, and provide the information there. I mean, the problem is though, is that muscleandfitness.com, I'm not promoting it for a second because I mean, holy shit, it's one of the few sites in the world where I really still want to run no script, because the amount of ads and bullshit that appears on that site, and they pull every nasty trick in the book where, you go through, like, they'll have a listicle of, 8 to 10 things or something, or like different workouts, and you have to click a page for each one. Right. And that just gets more ad impressions on it. I mean, they're horrible as far as that goes, so whatever. Admittedly, to some degree, I mean, I got some great workouts out of Muscle and Fitness even recently, I'll admit that, but they're probably reprints of shit from the 80s. Even though there's, we learn all kinds of new stuff, as far as body science goes and everything. I mean, and fitness science all the time, and medical science, of course. So, it's not like there isn't a place for that or there isn't enough info. It's just that they couldn't keep up with all of the websites that were just, putting stuff out, the second that it gets found out about. So I understand, again, I was mainly just being nice, even just having a subscription to it, it was just kind of it's almost a thank you. And that's a valid thing to do. Even if you don't consume, a company or someone's content or something like that, you're just appreciative for what they've done, say for your subculture, for your industry, for your whatever, to give, or to improve your life at some point, to want to give them some money in perpetuity for the rest of your life, or however long. Sure. I mean, am I going to complain about losing $20 a year now? I don't know. No. Or about not losing it, I should say, but I didn't really feel like I lost it, because I thought Muscle and Fitness was really doing a wonderful thing. And I know it had done wonderful things for a lot of people for decades, but end of an era, no doubt about that. Again, they're taking advantage. I'm sure they've wanted to do this probably for about a decade. And I think that they finally had the impetus. They finally had the moment where no one could really complain, because I imagine there might be some that would, but no one could really complain and say, oh, I can't believe you did this. I want, and they offer refunds too, which good on them. But, like it's such a, regardless of the reality or what's perception, with what's going on with COVID-19, they can say to people, hey, look, we can't have people come in to even get the, we can't get photo shoots done. We can't even get the printers in, whatever, that's how it is. And so they had the perfect storm to finally shut this down. I wonder how many other magazines are going to shut down. A lot of things are shutting down. Hell, there are podcasts shutting down, which baffles me. You can podcast anywhere, baby. I don't understand that for a second, but okay, whatever. A lot of people are taking this chance to, basically just come up with an excuse for why they're going to drop. Is there something Muscle and Fitness could have done to stick with the times and somehow, ride, like evolve into something while still being more or less what it was? Because, I mean, let's be clear here. Muscle and Fitness is not going to be anything like what it was for the past few decades. I mean, it's just not really, I mean, granted, it hasn't been what it was for years anyway, even in print. Is there something they could have done? In my opinion, I can't really think of anything. It's a shame, because wanting to be on the cutting edge of a lot of this information, which is what having a website or social media presence allows for, is you get to share it very quickly and write up a story and get it out there very quickly. Again, I think that's, for a lot of industries, or for a lot of different, we'll say industries and niches, that's a fool's errand, because you want to take the time. Like I saw a story on a fitness site, where they were talking about that. Well, we might actually be wrong about warning people about blue light at night, that it might not be as bad, and all these night filters and red filters and everything could be complete bullshit. I mean, it's okay to, kind of like just sort of toss that out there. But like to do a full story on it, and you are a fitness website, a popular one, and you're coming at it like you're some kind of authority. I mean, this is where we run into issues, is that we're not taking the time to really do due diligence with a lot of these, ideas, and to experiment. And I mean, and we're still working out and taking the time to figure out, okay, well, how to, as a species, frankly, I mean, it's gotten to that point, thankfully, where we're like, well, is this blue light whole thing really harmful? Let's try it out. Let's see, and anyway, I mean, I know that the tech industry has jumped on it because it's a new feature that they can bake in that can please investors. I understand that, but anyway, yeah, the speed of information does not equate to the quality. And in fact, often enough, I think it's quite the opposite. And, fast information can be as, there's places where that makes sense. And then there's places where I don't think that it does. And in the fitness industry, I think we do well to be a little slower on the take with some things, and for the bulk of the fitness industry to all just jump on things online. That's a problem, in my opinion. To say nothing of the fact that a lot of like online publishing, especially, they will get experts. Okay. Like journalists, and believe me, Muscle and Fitness relies on journalists. They will get experts from wherever. Okay. Like they'll use, there's whole services online where you can request people, you can put up the story that you're working on, and you can see if you can get experts, who will pitch to you to want to help you out with your story or give you a quote or whatever. I mean, this is a very, very common thing. Now, something to understand, okay, and this is important, is it has absolutely gotten to the point online and this is with online journalism, where, and it can only work in online journalism because it all comes down to a backlink. Okay. It all comes down to a link, where journalists now are saying in these very services, we will not accept, like if you're recommending a product or something, something that might help people out, it could be a fitness story or whatever. They're not interested in the best product. Okay. I mean, their story is going to say it's the best products, right? They're not interested in the best product. They're interested, hey, we won't accept anything if it doesn't have an affiliate verified link, meaning that if they can't get a commission off of it, they won't even consider what you're putting out to them. Now, that's a problem because, there's some fitness equipment out there that, well, for example, okay, here's a quick example. I didn't expect this to get into this, but I just want to bring this up. So say muscleandfitness.com is doing a story now about the best shoes, okay, that you can wear for, I don't know, maybe they want to be particular. What are the best shoes for squats? What's the best, or maybe they don't want to be particular. What's the best overall workout shoe? Here's the rub. They'll ask for recommendations on that, right? But they won't tell you something. Say there's a shoe that's on a small business site of some kind that is not verified. It's not a verified affiliate or something, or they don't even have an affiliate program, which there are companies who hire hundreds of thousands of people that don't have affiliate programs. Okay. There are companies that do millions of dollars a year that don't have affiliate programs because either they're not interested or they do plenty of money without it. They don't care, whatever. Okay. They don't do it. They haven't explored it for whatever reason. You could say they're leaving money on the table. Maybe, but then you don't know what their business model exactly looks like. Anyway, for example, I think the best workout shoes I've ever tried are Ronnie Coleman's. He has a signature series, and I mean it looks like a Converse shoe, but it's got some padding in it and everything. These I love these. They have absolutely changed. They had changed the way, especially that I did leg day in the gym. I mean, they are awesome. I love these things. You can only get them on Ronnie Coleman's site, and they get made one at a time. Okay. Like it took weeks for mine to come in. Now they get made in China, sure, and they come on the slow boat. All true. But the bottom line is that they get custom made each time. Now that's, in my opinion, the best workout shoe, that I've tried. I don't know how far I can go with saying that, but regardless, I think that's the best workout shoe. And there's plenty of people who also are like, wow, yeah, this thing's fucking amazing. I've talked to others who have tried it out as well. My point being is that shoe, no matter how goddamn good it is, because it just doesn't have a fucking affiliate link, and Muscle and Fitness can't make a buck off of it, even though it's Ronnie Coleman, and they certainly made plenty of bucks off of him, that's not going to show up in their story. So there are strange incentives when it comes to that. Were magazines any better? Yeah, maybe not, right? Because the magazine was loaded with ads, of course, and those ads were pay to play. And I understand that. Okay. But when you are paying up front for a product, that being like a magazine, I think that the incentives skew a little more towards, we got to deliver a great product to people. Otherwise they won't pick up our magazine off the shelf. Right? As to where a website, who cares? It's all free. Well, you think it's free, right? Perceived free, perceived cost or lack thereof. So we have very funny incentives with all of this, and everything moving online. No, that does not equate to better every time. I'm not going to say it doesn't equate to better anytime. There's times where maybe it does. But anyway, just something to consider. I did not expect to talk about that for 20 minutes, but I did. And I think it's an important conversation. And again, that is an absolute end of an era. I can remember actually being like 5 and seeing issues of Muscle and Fitness and Flex. I've absolutely always seen these things. And it will be very strange, even though I've been getting them mailed to me for a long time. It'll be very strange to go to the grocery store and not see it there anymore. It really is going to be odd. So anyway, let's get into some questions, shall we? That's what we're here for. A question actually that got asked. It's been asked a few times, and I want to get to it now because, and I was kind of saving it, but I want to get to it now because this has really changed. I'm going to give you the recommendation I was going to give, but also the question, like there's a change here because ever since version 4.5 of Tails OS came out, you now have a lot more options of what computers it's possible to run Tails on and what it's even a good idea to run Tails OS on. Now, of course, Tails is basically the operating system. It's a Linux-based operating system that runs off of a flash drive and only off of a flash drive. And it routes everything through Tor, right? It's a very secure platform, very secure operating system. Now, I mean, of course, there's Cubes OS out there, which I'm a huge fan of. Some people like to run a Unix instance in whatever operating system you use as your daily driver, perhaps. Again, as I've said, I feel like Tails is getting to the point, especially when you set up persistent storage on the flash drive. I feel like it's getting to the point where it can be a daily driver as long as, well, let's just say it, as long as speed isn't the name of your game. And kudos to you if it's not. You have my absolute compliments. But the question that I've been asked over and over again, and again, I want to address it now that version 4.5 came out. The question I've been asked is, what is the best device to run Tails on? Now, I said device, and I'm being particular in that because some people, when they asked this question, were particular in saying device. I think they were hoping that they could run Tails perhaps on some kind of mobile device, like a tablet or smartphone. To the best of my knowledge, that's not happening. And if it did, it'd probably be some old tablet where there were some options there, but I don't see that occurring. But certainly there are devices small enough, that I think are very mobile, and with Tails would actually have pretty good battery life at that. And I can say that specifically because as I've mentioned, and I think this is really what brought up the question because it was long before 4.5 was even talked about. But I had said that I have a laptop that I have specifically that just runs Tails, and that's all that I really have it do. There's other options with it, sure, but I do use it specifically for Tails. So people asked about that. Well, let me tell you what I recommend for running Tails. Now, of course, there is a computer, which is actually on back order right now, not uninteresting, called the Privacy Beast. And if you go to any of the show notes for recent episodes, I want to say over the past year, but recent episodes of Sovereign Tech, you will find a link in the show notes under the appendix for the Privacy Beast. The Privacy Beast is a old ThinkPad X220. So it's a laptop, and that's a great machine that you could run. I mean, they design it to run Cubes OS and other things. You could certainly run Tails on it easy. It uses a BIOS. It does not have a UEFI, which is kind of what Tails version 4.5 was resolving. Okay, was interacting better with the UEFI. That doesn't mean there aren't computers with UEFIs that Tails can boot up with. I mean, basically, every laptop certainly, and really every motherboard, for the past, almost 10 years now, I would say, was coming with the UEFI. The BIOS has been gone. That concept's been gone for a good while. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I understand the advantages to the UEFI, but, there's problems there. Secure Boot was one of them. If you remember, there was the point where people were genuinely concerned they weren't going to be able to buy any laptop they wanted and even try, regardless of how well Ubuntu or whatever Linux distro they were going to use, regardless of how well it would run on the laptop, or if it would recognize the trackpad or whatever. These are problems that still happen. The UEFI would lock the system out, or would lock out the bootloader to be able to even try to install another operating system. And because if you remember, and this is all because of the UEFI, where they programmed, the chips after Skylake for Intel that would not allow you to install, you had to install Windows 10. You couldn't install Windows 7. It wouldn't work. Now with those, things changed and it didn't turn into the nightmare of where, you wouldn't be able to install Linux. And I think that's because manufacturers realized, oh shit, the world is actually going to Linux, and it is. Governments, major companies, everybody's going to it because of the death of Windows 7 of all things. We've talked about this over the years. So, I mean, that didn't happen, but, a UEFI with Secure Boot and other, parts of that firmware being locked down is what really allowed for that control of what operating system could even be on there. This is a small technical marvel that Tails 4.5 is, not even small. I mean, certainly the flash drive can be, but but it's a technical marvel that they are able to get that to work with Secure Boot, and an important one. I think they knew they had to be able to do that if they were going to get more mass adoption for Tails. And that's really it. Is like I said, I think Tails is getting to the point. We talked about this a couple of years ago when they brought in the new director for the Tor project, and she was, I think, pretty clear. And we talked about it, that she wants everybody using Tor. Everybody. This is not just for, for the tech savvy or the privacy minded. Everybody should be using it because, well, everybody should be privacy minded. Should everybody be tech savvy? There's arguments. Anyway, so, okay. I guess to get to the meat of the question so we can move on and actually get to other questions. Bottom line, a great laptop because it is tiny. And I can't believe that these are so hard to find, but, or that there are so few of them. They're not hard to find, but because there are so few of them, a great laptop to get because it's small, as in it's in the 11-inch screen range. Okay. Now I know that there are 13-inch laptops or laptops with a 13-inch screen that are pretty much the size of like an 11-inch, what used to be an 11-inch computer, or even like what would be more considered a netbook. I understand that. But this is a traditional 11-inch screen. Okay. That this computer has, or this laptop has. It is a newer model. It's had previous generations, and I've used its previous generations. These aren't exactly computers. If you do anything, so they normally come with Windows. If you use Windows, and if you are any kind of a power user at all with Windows, you will kill these laptops inside of a couple of years. I've done it already, but granted, you're only spending a couple $100, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more. But the latest rendition of this specific computer is the ASUS VivoBook L203MA. Okay, L203MA. Now, there have been different models of this over the years, and VivoBook is, that's there's ZenBook, which is kind of their ASUS's, which I love ASUS. I think that they're a top-notch company. I mean, I've been buying ASUS motherboards and graphics cards for 20 years, or 15 at least. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Actually, well, looking around, the computers I have here are ASUS, all of them. I've even used ASUS phones over the years. The Zenfone, which I was a huge fan of the Zenfone 2, for it being a smartphone still, but I was a fan of it for what it was. Anyway, so yeah, the VivoBook line, it's kind of like the difference, like where the ZenBook would be ASUS's ThinkPads, I guess the VivoBook would be ASUS's version of the IdeaPad in comparison to Lenovo. But I think ASUS delivers generally a very quality product. So the L203MA, this is an 11-inch laptop, like I said, that screen is not 1080p, but I think that's a good thing. Okay. It's at, the standard 1366 by 768, right? I actually like that. Like that's okay with me, for a few different reasons. I mean, if I'm on something that's going to be doing any gaming, or I need to do like hardcore multitasking, then sure. Yeah. Give me the, highest resolution you can. Well, actually, I think anything above 1080p is bullshit, but you get my point. That's fine. But I think that this works just fine, being at what is effectively 720p. It has a Intel Celeron N4000 processor in it, which I guess that's technically a quad core, but when you get into that series, does it really matter that much? Not exactly. It can run up to 2.6 gigahertz, and it will do that in Tails, actually. Has a 64 gig eMMC drive in it. The hard drive doesn't really matter. because you're going to be running off of a flash drive anyway. Okay. And we'll talk about that a little bit in a second here. 4 gig of RAM. Yeah, that's fine. And whatever, has a webcam, microphone. I mean, you know, if you really wanted to, you could just cut the wires on all those anyway and never use them. I mean, I put stickers over that kind of shit pretty quickly. So that's the overall specs. As far as ports, the port selection is very nice. Has a micro SD card slot, has a full HDMI port, which that's nice. Has a USB-C port, which is also nice. Now, it's not like Thunderbolt 3 or anything, but it is a USB-C port, and that creates some interesting options and some future proofing. 2 USB 3.0 ports, so you're in pretty good shape. It does not, unfortunately, yes, I would love it if it charged via USB-C. It does not. It has a more of a proprietary charger. Do I wish it had an Ethernet port on it? Absolutely. But really, with the USB-C port, you can get some great hubs that are very fast, and that handles Ethernet far better than even USB 3. So I think there's an advantage there with it having the USB-C port. And I have used the USB-C port in Tails with an Ethernet adapter that connected through USB-C with also, you know, full like USB hub and everything. And I mean, it was really slick. So that is an option to go with as far as that, if you want to stick to Ethernet, which I don't blame you. But anyway, if you're not sticking with Ethernet, this is a very portable machine. It will get you a good, again, it's, as you could tell by the specs, fairly underpowered. It'll get you a good 12 hours. Now, I'm not kidding. I mean, like, you don't have to do anything too crazy with the brightness either, especially when you're running Tails, and that's saying something. You'll get a good 10, 12 hours on that, as long as, I mean, you can watch video on it. You can watch video in Tails, because when you turn on the persistent storage in Tails and you set up a temporary admin password, I mean, you can put VLC on there. I still keep my loadout of software pretty minimal, but I mean, I throw on Hex Chat right away, even though Pigeon comes pre-installed. I mean, like, LibreOffice is already there, but I'll throw on Hex Chat. I'll put on VLC. I really wish the Telegram client would work on there, but it doesn't. But I mean, there's so many great options with Tails. Maybe they'll get to that point. I don't know. I mean, you can have, you know, Electrum is already installed on there, so you already have a Bitcoin wallet ready to rock. That's a nice option, but I keep it pretty slim what I install on there. But regardless, this machine, I mean, yeah, I see it as about as portable as any tablet could be. Maybe the battery life wouldn't get you through the day as well as, I mean, I think 10, 12 hours is pretty fucking great. Maybe it won't get you through the day like your smartphone will, but I think it does. I think it does a damn good job. As far as with Tails, it recognizes everything right out of the gate. You know, there's no trackpad issues. Wi-Fi is instantly connects, Bluetooth, all of it instantly works inside of Tails. So, and the going price, well, actually, I was just looking at it. If you were to get it on Amazon right now, it would cost you about $270. I did not spend $270 on this computer. In fact, I think I spent like $140. Okay. Right now, I don't know if this is part of COVID-19 and the present economy and everything's, you know, just, you know, prices going through the roof or what. But maybe if you hold off a little bit, I bet you can find this for a really great price. And I mean, I think getting a little Tails computer for under $150, I think that's totally worth it. Totally worth it. You know, just always have Tails available. I think it's a great fucking idea. So that's the machine I recommend. There's a few others. Lenovo has a machine that's in this class that also does very well. So you could look at that. There's what is it? The HP, is it the Breeze or something, or the Cloud, or maybe it's the Cloud. HP's has a 11-inch computer in this class as well. I mean, most of the big companies do. Dell does as well and everything. But I feel like sticking with ASUS or Lenovo is a pretty good bet. And again, like I said, I can verify, at least with the L203MA, that Tails works beautifully with it. Now, I mean, I did mess around with running Windows 10 on the L203MA. I mean, I even recorded podcasts on it, and, you know, it did that very well. When you go to encode, Yeah, it instead of 2 minutes, it takes 20, and that's because it's a very processor heavy affair. And that's not a great processor in there. It's not a bad one, but it ain't a great one either. Did I run TIE Fighter? Of course. It's not really a computer if it can't play TIE Fighter. So it can, and really, actually, if you did decide to use it as some kind of little Windows machine, if you are running a lot of legacy software, that not 1080p screen is a Satan send, because it can run all of this older software at a more native resolution. That's really, really nice. So, there's something to think about as far as that goes. I'm not going to do a full review of this computer, but it makes for a great Tails machine. It does have the UEFI. When I initially got it, I did have the secure boot turned off, but now with version 4.5, I can actually turn it on and Tails boots into it beautifully right away. I do like to customize the options, my boot up options with the UEFI, and I do that. But Tails, I know, works beautifully stock with the L203MA. Again, with Tails, you're always going to be hampered by the speed of the fact that it's on a flash drive. You can't avoid that. Okay. So, you don't need a powerful computer. That's not the point. They didn't design Tails to run on a fucking Cray. Okay. Or to run on a Mac. It can run on a MacBook, but to run on a MacBook or whatever. They didn't design it that way. It's meant for running on whatever hardware that you can find. And really, in many ways, I feel like it's meant to run on the lowest hardware possible. So, or at least it's designed to be able to, because it's something generally for activists, even though now I think that's changing and they're kind of adding it into the mixture of, okay, everybody could jump on this, and like I said, I hope they do. And you can too. And if you want to give it a shot with a separate computer that doesn't come at a high cost, the ASUS VivoBook L203MA. I will list that in the show notes if I remember, so that you can check it out. Anyway, okay, let's get on to another question. All right, let's do it. This is one I've been holding on to for a while, and I kept mentioning in every episode. Let's get it done. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Here we go. I'll read it. Stallion, that's all I can think to call you after listening to your latest episode with Ellen Stallone. Though I hear it's sovereign now. I bet that's a story. So you can tell how long I've had this question, because Ellen was on, boy, it feels like that was 2 months ago, maybe even longer. Is that 2-3 months ago? Yeah. She's like, yeah. Anyway, it was a while ago. So, all right, let's keep reading here. So, all right. I realize this might sound insincere or sarcastic, but it's not. Do you really have sex 4 to 5 times a day? How is this even possible? Why is this even possible? Ellen's laughing her ass off here. You might have to jump in on this. I don't know. So reading on, as in, why would you even want that? No judgment. I was just stunned by this, and I told my husband about it, and he was just as surprised. If it's too personal, please disregard. I'm just ... Wow. And it's signed Miss Jackson. 4 to 5 times a day. How's that? Does that sound about right? On occasion? Yeah.
I'd say our average has been lower than that, but that's like a special day.
Yeah. Well, that's because we're so busy, right? Yeah. So that's all right. If you don't mind my asking, and I'm going to move the microphone a little bit here.
I'll speak closer.
Okay. All right. If you don't mind my asking you. So, and I'm not going to let this episode go over an hour. So don't worry. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I know you're working right now. So, that's not in the question, but like, say we weren't as busy as we are. We weren't working all the time, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You weren't doing your student thing, the whole thing. Do you think 4 to 5 times would be the average?
Yeah. It was before we got really busy.
Yeah. Right. Okay. All right. So yeah, because I don't know if I said that. Did we? I must have said that.
You must have said something about it.
Yeah. But Yeah, I mean, like I guess just so that they know, and it's not just me talking, because who really wants to hear the guy anyway when it's this subject, right?
Right.
But I mean, is that what you would prefer? Like, is that
I think it's nice.
the listeners don't know you as well as I do. It's really sweet when you say it that way. It's like, oh, I think it's nice. That's like your way of saying yes, that's my dream. I don't know.
I don't
No,
know
go
how
ahead.
far you want me to go into this, but
I don't care. I mean, they're asking, how is this even possible? Why is this even possible?
lots of lubrication.
Yeah. Well, that's. I mean, look, I've been on. I've been around porn sets, and I mean, this is the secret. Like, these people are lubing up like all the time, right? I mean, and they're going nonstop.
Yeah, and you have to do research into really good types of lube. We use Sliquid.
Sliquid.
It's an algae based. It's actually like a water based algae formed lubricant.
Yep.
It's pretty great.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, so 4 to 5 times a day like that. Yeah. Like you said, you're right. I mean, lots of lubricant. Sure. I mean, you have to, and it's certainly not for lack of desire. Cause I think there's that misconception out there, right? That if a woman's not wet, she doesn't want it, or that the guy's not like doing it well enough, or whatever the gender mixture is here. But I think that, no, you don't like,
yeah, physiology just doesn't work that way. I mean,
yeah.
Sometimes it takes a while to get to that point.
Sure. Right. I mean, and I've heard stats that, the average woman takes them 30 minutes to, for an analogous phrase, to get the motor running I mean, you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, exactly. And I guess kind of following that logic, that's why having sex more than 3 times a day feels so good.
Yeah. Right. Because the engine's always running. Is that? See, I'm glad I got you in on this. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it is possible. That doesn't mean I worry when I talk like this, that I say these like that somehow I'm suggesting this is what everybody should do. Like, I think a healthy sex life can take all different kinds of shapes and sizes and tolerances and whatever else. It doesn't have to.
Can.
Right. It doesn't have to be. But
no, and there are even days where you and I don't have sex. And that's, those are the really long days.
Yeah, those days. Yeah. Yeah, damn it.
It's not what we would prefer, but it does happen sometimes.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So, but I guess to answer the first question, do you really have sex? Well, I mean, if in our perfect world, sure, 4 to 5 times a day. I mean, and there have been plenty of days where that's true. You would agree with that,
yes.
Ellen? Okay.
Yeah.
How is this even possible? Do you have anything? I can let you get back to your stuff if you want, but do you have anything to say to that?
Well, I also wonder that sometimes, like, how is it even possible for you? Because, like, every other guy that I've been with, 2, maybe 3 times a day, and they're tired out. They can't handle anymore. But, like, I could just keep having sex. Like, there's no reason why I should stop unless I get really dehydrated.
Mm-hmm.
But for men, it's a different story. I don't understand.
Oh, you're saying, like, they got to be able to get hard all the time.
Yeah.
Or that often.
Yeah,
right.
and I guess you and I just are really attracted to each other.
I'm just sitting here, like, grin ear to ear, like, yeah, every other guy just wasn't,
just wasn't man enough for me.
No judgment, folks, and I know it. Yeah, I don't know how I do it either.
I think you're just obsessed.
I am obsessed. It's true. I mean, this is, I don't know, like, you just got to enjoy it that much, and it's okay if you don't, or if it's okay if it, I don't know. It's just how some people are,
I think you're very special. I think you're, one could either say a freak or a jewel, depending on how you look at it.
I mean,
I feel so lucky because I can just have sex whenever I want.
You can.
You're always ready.
Oh, yes. Wait, how much did I say I'd pay you for saying this?
Well, actually, what's written in the contract here was at least $1,000 you mentioned.
Yeah. All right. Well, Do you take Zcash? Do you? Oh man. Yeah. I mean, same, like, right. Like yeah, I feel like I can basically, perform on command or, or at desire. I don't know if we want to talk about other aspects of our sex life. Maybe those are questions for another
I
time.
don't think the listener wanted to know that much.
Yeah.
They were just asking how it's possible, and I don't think that it is possible for most people.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. I mean, because as much, I mean, I've had, this is, and I assure you, this is in no way meant as boast. I've had people where, like, my sex drive, what maybe some people would call like a hypersex drive, and I think you have one too, Ellen.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. But I mean, my hyper sex drive was a problem, like for them, for varying reasons, or even, yeah, I mean, it's just everybody's different, it's just like, yeah, it's a tough thing. And because, and I think this might lead to some of the question, is that because it's such a individual thing that, there's not like broad answers that you can put out there. For example, like what's a common thing that women are told to basically want out of a guy, as far as sex goes?
I guess commonly women are told that they like huge cocks.
Right.
And that's not always true. I mean, I've had friends who prefer micro penises because they have short vaginas, essentially.
I'm going to add that into the Q&A. No, okay. No. Well, that's interesting. But so, right. Okay. So I didn't plan asking you that. I didn't prod that. I didn't whisper to you, I mean, not that anybody could tell or see, but I mean, I didn't whisper to you what you should say, but that's my point, is that you knew exactly what I was, like the first thing that came to mind. Right.
You've had the same experience where, like, not everyone has wanted a huge cock.
Yeah. Where it was a real problem. And in fact, like afterwards, say like after a breakup or something like that, they would even say to me, like, and I'm not boasting here, I'm just trying to prove a point. They would even say to me that they were so happy that their new partner had an average sized cock. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing. Like there's no one way, to all of this, I mean, it's all, and I appreciate, because the emailer is saying, Miss Jackson here is saying no judgment. Okay. And great. And no judgment for me either. What do you got?
I just see that she wrote, why would you even want that?
Yeah, I suppose that's the part we haven't touched on.
That's kind of essential to this issue of, individual based sex drives.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want that, but that doesn't mean that everyone does. I mean, there's some people that don't have any sex drive.
Yeah. And that's like, it's just different, it's not right, wrong. It's just different.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, why? Yeah. Again, it's an individual thing. I mean, do I have long drawn out arguments for why or not arguments, or but cases for, or reasons for why, I guess what people would call why I'm obsessed with sex or something like that? Yeah, of course I do. It doesn't mean that
you could talk about it all day.
I could, but that doesn't mean that they're true for everyone else, or that they apply to everyone else. Right. And I don't need to go down them, but yeah, like, I mean, well, I guess they are specifically asking why. I mean, do you want to take a stab at that?
Well,
since you're here.
I mean, besides your own personal reasons for why you would want that, I mean, another thing to consider is that sex generally happens with at least two people.
Yep.
And you and I both, I mean, we really love each other.
Yes.
A lot.
Yes. It's quite insane.
Yeah.
Like it is a truly mad love. Screaming from the hilltops. I mean, the whole thing. It's, yeah.
And I guess we just want each other that much.
So that, like, that's your why. It's just you feel that.
I don't think that I would want to have sex 5 times a day with someone that I wasn't absolutely crazy about.
Right, right. That, now that's an interesting point to consider as well. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I think my why is, yeah, I mean, that's certainly probably the key thing, you know? Cause I sure as fuck don't want to have sex with everybody or just anybody, you know what I mean? And actually, I mean, I will bring this up, like while the amount of sex I want hasn't changed, a lot of my desires have dramatically changed, and they've changed because I feel like I found my match. And I don't just mean that as in, I mean that in like in every way, like my match as in like my, someone that challenges me. My match is in someone that fits me. My match is in someone that compliments, you know, and I mean, I don't mean compliments and says like, wow, you know, you're great. I mean, compliments is like, you know, you compliment me. And you're what I've, you know, very much like always dreamed about and didn't think was like, I think everybody has that dream partner, that dream person.
I certainly did.
Right. And,
and then I found him.
I love you. That Zcash is coming. No, but I think like so many dreams that we have, like maybe when we're teenagers or something, or even getting a little older than that. So many dreams that we have when we'll say when we're younger. Okay. So many dreams that we have, we just like, we kind of give into, no, that's not possible. You know, like I might find something close, but I won't find that exact thing that can be, or, you know, that exact person. And because I think this is true beyond even, you know, just relationships with people. But when you do find that dream person, I mean, it can't help but change you. And I mean, like, I don't know, I'm getting into subjects that require entire conversations on their own, you know, because I mean, on this show in the past, I've been very supportive of polyamory, and I still don't care if people are polyamorous and whatever. Rock and roll, I mean, you know, love has all kinds of shapes, just like sex does, or the lack or not sex, if we want to call it that. But I mean, that's not something I really have an interest in, you know, anymore. And that is for me is a massive shift, you know.
It is, yeah.
But it comes from the fact that like, wait a minute, you know, here it is. Not to call you an it, but
true love has arrived.
Yeah. I mean, and I've brought this up, and I think I've kind of said this before in other Q&As, like, oh no, I don't know if I want to go there, because I'm going to be psychologizing people. But I think or here, how about I put it this way? I think for some people, not all, but for some people, they want to get with like 5 different people to try and emulate that one perfect person.
Yeah, and those people are the ones that say that no one person can meet all of your needs.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I just never wanted to believe that. Like, I was never satisfied with that answer.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out why. Because, like, my dream person does exist.
Yeah, well, same.
And you are everything I need.
Yeah, as are you to me. I mean, and yeah, it's interesting. You and I, and of course you introduced me to this. What do you got?
Oh, no, I'm listening.
We, Olaf Stapledon, our favorite author, we'll say that, our shared favorite author anyway. Mm-hmm. And was it First and Last Men? Is that the book where he talks about the certain generation of humanity?
Yes.
Where they are polyamorous.
Yeah, it's the final men, I believe that he's.
Yeah, I think it's like the 18th generation or whatever. But anyway, while they were polyamorous, there was like this recognition though that like having that one other person created a like just this very powerful, unique relationship.
Yeah, the way he talked about it, I mean, it was a very brief mention,
Mm-hmm.
but essentially these final men had like, I don't know, 40 different partners or something, but
Yeah.
there would on occasion be a one special partner that they had a more intimate, more close, comfortable, familiar bond than with any of their other partners.
Right.
And it was kind of seen as it was kind of glorified as like more special than all of the other relationships.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember here, I mean, and that's of course science fiction, but I mean, Olaf Stapledon, I think, was really on the cusp of a lot of changes happening socially, just like other authors at the time, H.G. Wells and some others, as far as like being like active in free love and all this different stuff, even back then. But I remember reading that and like, it just sounded, I was like, oh, it was like, it was thoughts put to words that I had. And it was amazing. I mean, also that, you introduced me to this author, but
well, Arthur C. Clarke introduced me.
Right. Yeah. what a great trail to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but that really spoke to me, and especially for someone to like already write so, it's coming from a source where there isn't judgment on, say, polyamory or something, but still saying no, but there's something special here. And I thought that was really powerful at the time as well, even though I had already kind of come to this conclusion before I even read that book, I think. So anyway, but it's just that's an interesting point. So we went way off the rails with this. I know you have stuff that you need to get to.
Yeah, I'll just be over in my corner typing away. Waiting for those cryptocurrencies to show up.
But yeah, I mean, so why would you even want that? I think when it is something, when you match, I mean, because there's something real quick, there's something to like your body's matching very well too, right?
Yes,
all
that's
the parts,
very important.
Yeah, that's really key. I mean, so it's tough for all of these elements to come together. But what do you
Yeah, no, I think it is really rare.
Like yeah,
what you're talking about, not just to physically match with someone, but also like emotionally and intellectually, and
right,
on all of these other metrics that determine like attraction and love to a person.
Yeah. I mean, because there's a lot of different relationship styles. There's so many different things. I mean, even between just two people, there's so many different things to bring to bear, or to come to head. But I think when they're all there, sex 4 to 5 times a day. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Quote a little Stallone. I mean, oh, absolutely.
I mean, we could get to 3 by lunchtime.
Oh, easy. I mean, some more. Well, anyway, we don't have to. Yeah. Well, anyway, so that's why when all of those elements just come together in such an amazing way, and physically, mentally, all of it, and that desire is there. Yeah. I mean, it's totally possible. So. Anyway, Ellen, thank you so much for joining me here for a moment. I didn't expect this.
Yes, thank you for inviting me on to your studio here.
Yeah.
Which is actually right next to my workspace.
Yeah, the BDSM Studio 3. Woo! And well, yeah, it's perfect because like our desks, it's just like this one line.
It's a continuous wood slab of like your desk, the printer, my desk.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. It's nice too, because that used to be BDSM Studio 2, or that was a part of it. And so, well,
now
anyway.
It's been transformed.
Yeah. It's like old clipper ships where they just keep adding, the old wood, but you still have the pieces of the old ship left. And I love that.
That's beautiful.
It is. It really is. Anyway, okay. Well, thank you, love. I'll let you get back to it. Yeah. And here we go. Okay, so that was a nice little fun detour to go on with that question, and I'm sure far better answered thanks to Ellen, if as compared to if it was just me just flapping my yap. Anyway, okay, so why don't we get into, we've got that, I think I've got that answered, and again, no judgment from me either. I mean, I have the dearest of friends that are asexual. I mean, and that doesn't necessarily mean no sex either. That's a whole other conversation. So, which we've covered in Q&As. But Anyway, yeah, no judgment. You know, some people have sex, frankly. I mean, I've heard from people that have it once, twice a year, and that's enough for them, you know, and hell, then there's Vulcans that do it every 7 years and good for them. So no, okay. Anyway, so there you go. No judgment for me, but, yeah, obviously I am and if you're a new listener, I need to get back into this. I think maybe some people would disagree with me. Years ago, like my show was absolutely, Sovereign Tech specifically was absolutely drenched with sex. I mean, it was like a part of every element of the fucking show. It was really, I mean, I loved it, but I know it wasn't for everybody. In fact, I had other, listeners who identified as asexual, who were like, you know, hey, could you calm that? And I'm not talking about, you know, anybody that's written in recently. But you know, I'm talking about other people and they like, you can even, I don't think the SoundCloud page still works, but you can even see their comments there from like episode 100 or something. I mean, anyway, but my show used to, I mean, it was just dripping with it. Right. And that was by design. I wanted it to, you know, to really do that. So if you're a new listener, you might not know just how like really admittedly sex obsessed I am. So hopefully that brought some clarity to that. Anyway, let's move on. Let's get our album of the weekend and then wrap this baby up. For the album of the week, let us talk about the latest release from Nightwish, Human to Nature. It's actually human period, Roman numerals to nature period. That is the actually, I think there's even semicolons in there. I don't know. It was a weird title, but the album overall, this is a really unique animal. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it. The opening track music is really solid, but this has they've gone heavy on the folk music. I feel like with this one, there's a 3-disc version. The 3rd disc has like all instrumentals of the 1st disc, but the 2nd disc gets into a whole thing. It's like 8 parts of something. In fact, I'm just pulling it up here quick, and there we go. Because I didn't have it up. Oh geez, I got to fix that. Anyway, no, you don't need to hear me live broadcasting this. So anyway, the 2nd disc has all the works of nature which adorn the world. Yeah, and I was right. It was like 8 tracks. This is a very weird album. It's good. I like it. I like it a lot, actually. And the 1st disc has 9 tracks on it. Like I said, it overall, I mean, there's some heavy moments to it, but it feels very folky. They're doing something that you don't normally hear with a melodic singer. Like, I feel like some of this might be almost a Mon Amarth style, right? Which I'm a big fan of them. I had no problem there. But to have it with so much melody is a different sound than I feel like I've ever really heard anywhere. Nightwish is a weird band that has gone through a lot of different tonal shifts over the years. I mean, I'm a huge fan. When I first heard Century Child, I thought that album was fucking amazing. Even when they lost Tarja, Dark Passion Play, tremendous album. I feel like, and I mean, Once, which came in between those, I think Once is either Once or Dark Passion Play are my favorite albums. Of course, with Dark Passion Play, they had Annette Olson there. Yeah, they've gone through some changes in sound over the years, certainly, and they've been around for, over 20 at this point. Like, they've been around for 25 years, so that lends you to having a lot of opportunity to change your sound. I don't not like the sound on Human to Nature, but it's also not like the Nightwish that I really want, but it's good. It's very, very good. Very listenable. I really like the first track. In fact, Nightwish is known for really coming in strong with their first track, I think. And I don't think they disappoint here, but yeah, I don't know. Frankly, I wouldn't have minded if they came in, maybe they brought in some synth, like kind of like a Beast in Black or Battle Beast or like One Desire or something like that, and tried that sound out with their, epicness, which Nightwish certainly has. I would have been intrigued to see where they could have gone with that. I bet they could have done an amazing album. Maybe they'll get to that. But really, ironically, they're going the opposite direction, which, again, I mean, there's something to be said for that. But they're going the opposite direction where they're not toning down the metal, but they're not bringing in more, shall we say, futuristic sounds. They're bringing in past sounds. Like I said, they're almost getting into almost a folk music, I felt like, with it. That's the feeling I got off of it. I've only listened to it through maybe twice now. And, some of these songs, when you get with bands like this, their albums can be so complex. You got to give them a few listens to really appreciate what's going on. So after a couple more listens, maybe my opinion will change. I think it's totally worth getting your hands on. I think it's totally worth listening to and adding in. It works in the gym. I have no problem with it. Or, whatever equates to a gym for you now. And I'm still a huge Nightwish fan. Always will be, regardless of who's, leading the songs. That sound is just, the rest of the people involved in the band just bring such a unique flavor to everything. Even when they want to go a little back in time, it feels like, you can't go wrong with it. So Human to Nature by Nightwish, check it out. Just came out. It's their 2020 release. And we will wrap up this Q&A. We got episode 370 of Sovereign Tech coming up very shortly. I will see all of you on the other side.